All right, we are live. Welcome to the Spinnin Backfist MMA Show Vacation Edition, kind of, because we're all here, in different areas. We're not in the office this week. It's July 7th, Thursday, July 7th. Happy birthday to Ringo Starr. Peace and love. And we're here to talk MMA. We're here to talk UFC 276. Some of the fallout from that. Chris Pratt versus Israel Adesanya. Is that next? We'll talk about that. Tommy Fury, Jake Paul. Obviously, that's a big story this weekend. And then we've got the UFC card on Saturday, which is not a big deal. My birthday card. Hopefully, nobody misses weight. That would ruin my birthday.
You got to get him in shit, Bob. You got to let him know.
I do.
You got to make that clear.
UFC 200, John Jones ruined my birthday by failing his drug test.
Fucking DC, man. Damn shame.
Not cool. How are you guys? How was your 4th?
It's good. Just in LBI right now at my aunt's house. I've got the place to myself, so that's been lovely. Just been bouncing around LBI a little bit, just doing the thing. Obviously, perfect day to do the podcast. It's raining here right now down the shore, so little lazy. What's today? Thursday. Little lazy Thursday.
That's how you could tell vacation's going well. You don't know what day of the week it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with UFC 276, being that happened last weekend? Obviously, we're, almost a week removed from it at this point, so there's not, major headlines that we're going to touch on, breaking news from it or anything. But overall, I thought it was a good card. It wasn't what it could have been in terms of what it was on paper, right? Some of the fights didn't live up to that potential. Obviously, you got the weird ending in the O'Malley-Pedro Munoz fight that put the card off to a weird start, the main card at least. And then Chris Pratt and Israel Adesanya going back and forth because Chris Pratt afterwards was on ESPN. He said, I don't like doing all that talk and then doing a little pitter-patter in there. Israel Adesanya snapped back with a clip from Wanted where he gets smashed in the face with a keyboard, says, fuck you. He said, I'm the man, you're just a fan. And then Chris Pratt did respond and be like, you know what, you're right. It does frustrate me when people criticize my work in the same manner. So, like, I'm going to eat my words on this. Sorry, man. So, all's well that ends well.
What do you want to start with? I start with O'Malley probably. Just go top to bottom or bottom to top. I mean,
yeah.
So I know how I feel. What do you guys feel about the I guess we'll call it the O'Malley post-fight social media antics?
I didn't mind it. I mean, obviously, like I'm not looking at it in the same. I'm not looking at it like, yeah, he finished Pedro, but like that's kind of his thing at this point, right? Like he's done the undefeated shtick before, so it didn't really bother me, to be honest.
Exactly. That's like par for the course for him. Like that's who O'Malley is. It's just he's going to be the guy that's kind of controversial. He's going to say things that people are going to say like, "Oh, I love you. Oh, I don't." Kind of like, I mean, he's a Nelk boy. Like he just like like he says he's I would say good for the sport because he's taught like he's somebody who's controversial and not even in a bad way and just like he's very cocky way.
Yeah.
I mean, in his defense, it looked way better on the live version and like the minute like right after like the eye poke, like Pedro releasing like actually like the doctor's info and like saying, oh, it's like his cornea is actually like fucked up from it. It makes it look a lot worse than it did like at that moment. You know what I mean?
Did you see?
It didn't look that bad in the moment, and I wasn't saying Pedro was faking it by any means. I knew like, okay, if he's saying it hurts this bad, obviously it's for real. But it just looked like he kind of like touched him over the eyelid, which was what was like weird about it.
I meant to tweet it off Spinning Backfist, but there was a fighter who did a zoom in on it and was like, nah, this would like, nobody really knows it, but this would absolutely kill.
I'm sure.
It's not, I think it did look, you're right. Like he just kind of tapped it, but for whatever reason, I guess how he tapped it and then kind of like pushed it in. Obviously, I'm not going to do it to myself right now, but I guess it was really bad. And
Did you guys see the video? I saw Sean O'Malley posted it. I think he posted the link on his Instagram story, and I watched it. It was pretty much like it was from a punch in the first round. They did a slow-mo on it where he punched him and landed square knuckle in that eye. And basically for right when he did it, like Pedro, he kept touching it like all throughout the rest of the round. So there was kind of like that maybe he was hurt first by a very legal punch to the face. And then maybe he like scratched it. Like maybe I don't know. Obviously, I couldn't see how long his nails were. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe if he just gave it kind of a quick he just caught him in the perfect spot and just scratched his cornea. I guess that's what they said the injury was. But I'll try to find it and maybe we can post it. I guess it's kind of late now, but or I can send it to you guys. But yeah, it was a video pretty much it was a guy like breaking it down on his YouTube, just in slow motion, and he lands like a very clean punch square to that eye, like lands knuckle like clean in the eye, and it clearly was giving him like he was annoyed by it. He kept like he must have rubbed it 6-7 times in the next few minutes, like right after. So he might have maybe damaged it a little bit there and then just caught it again. But I mean,
quite a few people in our chat that are kind of like turning on O'Malley. Do you think the general fan base is turning on O'Malley?
Or do
you think that's more hardcore fans?
I think because I think O'Malley's great because he brings I think he has a lot of new young fans. Like I think the young crowd definitely loves him. He has a very his young crowd. Like obviously, I think you said he's in it with the Nelk boys. I think even pre him being in it with the Nelk boys, I think that was probably the crowd he already was kind of winning over. So that crossover kind of just made sense. I'm sure they kind of just hit it off naturally. They're similar age, similar type mindset. They're both they're big social media guys. He's good on social media. That's why he has the huge following. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's turning on him. I think it's people that already probably weren't crazy about him. And then they're I'm sure people don't love it when he's just kind of calling Pedro a pussy because they know Pedro's the real deal. And he hasn't Pedro was the first legitimate guy that he's fought. So I totally get that if you don't like O'Malley. But obviously, I'm a big O'Malley fan. I think we're social media guys too, so we understand he's just playing it up. I don't think he actually means that. I don't think he has any real disrespect for Pedro. Is the point that I'm making.
And I guess when they went, because Sean O'Malley has been on Sunday Conversation, I think when they went down there, they are Max, who is one of our producers, Philly Mays. I talked to him about it, and he said O'Malley was really, really nice. He was nice to everybody, and he was just a sick dude. So that's something.
I think today is the 3-year anniversary of maybe my first interview with O'Malley, which is on the main Barstool Sports YouTube. If you go back, it's me, Sean O'Malley, and Tim Welch, his coach, smoking a joint in my MGM Grand hotel room, doing hypotheticals. So asking real dumb questions. So go back. Nice. I think today is 3 years since then. Because I think he fought on the John Jones. Actually, no, he didn't fight on the card. He was suspended while we did it. He had that weird suspension for something that was in his stuff. But it was for the weekend of the John Jones Thiago Santos card.
Oh yeah,
which I believe Jorge KO'd Ben Askren on.
You know what's funny about the John Jones Thiago Santos? Ev and I were texting about that, and he was at a bar.
I'll never forget it.
And he was texting me. He's like, "Do you think he won?" I was like, "I don't know, dude." That was probably the first time Ev and I really ever. We probably spoke about MMA and UFC before, but I remember texting him during it because he was at a bar. He couldn't really see it, and that was a close fight.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. He got his legs kicked out in that fight. Thiago did, and he had no legs in that fight and just kept coming forward. It was nuts.
Didn't he tear both his knees or something?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was down the shore, and I was on full tilt. I remember I had bet Ben Askren. I kept doing these parlays. Where the first leg would just lose. Then I did a parlay with Askren, it was I think it was Askren, Amanda Nunes, and then John Jones, and then Askren gets laid out in 5 seconds, and then I think at the time put the biggest bet of my life on a parlay on Amanda Nunes and John Jones, and I was freaking out, and I couldn't watch it. I was at Beachcombers in Seaside, just sitting at the bar by myself, while all my friends on the dance floor just ripping tequila shots, literally by myself, just praying that John Jones would pull out this victory. And Jack Mack was just giving me like minute-to-minute updates on what was happening in the fight. And I could tell because he would not say anything for like 4 minutes. I'd be like, this isn't good. This is bad. I'm like, this is and then I even was watching like on the ESPN app, they have like the live feed where it shows like strikes. And the strikes were so even. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is terrible. I was like, this is so bad. And then it was a split decision.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus Christ. But it won though, so then I partied my ass off after that. But
that was a sneaky good card. That was Nunez knocked out Holm on that card with a head kick, I think. Did she do it with a head kick?
I believe so.
No, wasn't it? So. Oh, it wasn't Cyborg?
No,
that one was Nunez Holm.
Yeah, it was Nunez Holm, I'm pretty sure. Because it was just Nunez Jones. They both were like crazy chalk favorites.
And did Luke Rockhold get knocked out on that card too?
Yeah, by Blachowicz, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I've been to a couple events where Luke Rockhold got knocked out.
That was that Blachowicz Rockhold knockout was absolutely vicious.
Yeah, it was.
The punch he landed on the ground after was nasty.
Yeah, unnecessary.
His head literally bounced off the mat like 3 feet back in the air. His neck almost snapped back.
Yeah, that was nasty. What was next on this card? Was it the Robbie Lawler fight?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was next on this. It was tough to see Robbie Lawler take an L here, but he looked pretty good in the beginning of the fight.
He doesn't have good defense.
That's a fact. I thought he looked amazing the first like round and a half. Maybe I'll call it maybe round and a quarter. I'll call it.
And we kind of did get great. Like Gotti Ward with elbows too. If you're comparing it to the Brian Barberena Matt Brown fight, it was pretty similar to that fight in terms of just its chaoticness.
Dude, Barberena had just like a face. Even though his face was crazy busted up, his nose, like the top of his nose, looked like it was absolutely shattered. I mean, he just like doesn't go down. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Like Lawler hit him with some huge shots. And I mean, that was kind of similar to how a little bit similar to how the Matt Brown fight was. Like, I don't think Matt Brown was striking as well as like Robbie Lawler was, but there definitely was a little bit of that element to it where like he just like doesn't die.
Agreed.
He just eats like a million punches in elbows and he just keeps coming forward.
I like the story about him like meeting Robbie Lawler too, like at UFC 100 Fan Expo and being like, "Oh, I want to be a fighter one day." And now we're approaching UFC 300 and he just beat him on the biggest card of the year, International Fight Week. That was cool.
He wants like a big fight now, which I think is going to be a great spot to fade him.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just like, no disrespect to him, but I mean, you just beat like a 40-year-old Matt Brown and like 39-year-old Robbie Lawler. Like like he's asking for like Ponzinibbio, like he's asking for like he threw out with Ariel, he threw out Gilbert Burns. I was like, bro, come on.
Yeah, it's not a good idea for him.
I saw Ian Gary versus him, like in the hypotheticals.
See, like that. Okay, that's a little more. That could interest me a little bit.
I mean, he'll bring it to Gary like that. That would be interesting.
I see, as long as, but as to me, like well, we can talk about Gary a little bit too. He's on the undercard. I thought he looked great, and then I think that as long as his cardio is good, I think he would win that fight. Because I think, he showed if he just stays on the outside, and he's shown he could do it for 3 rounds without really clamming up a little bit. I mean, I thought he looked really, really sharp.
I think way better.
So quick.
I think it would almost look similar to the Green fight. I do think Barberena is a little tougher than Green, but I think it would look. He probably doesn't drop him, but I think it's just him like raining straight punches on his face for 3 rounds.
I think Green's faster than Barberena, though. That's the thing.
Probably.
It's like
you're probably right.
I think they're about equal toughness, but Green's probably faster.
And
but
Gary
Barberena,
looked twice as fast as Green.
He looked so good.
He looked amazing. He really did. He looked incredible.
The way he was snapping his combos, like mixing it up, throwing the kicks in there, I thought it was probably the best he looked.
Agreed.
In the UFC, at least.
I wonder.
That's a better performance as Cage Warriors.
Yeah, there was times where Gary, I looked really good against. Who's the guy that he fought before this fight? I'm blanking on his name.
Darian Weeks.
But Darian Weeks is like, he's not bad, but
he was like 5-1.
Gabe Green. Gabe Green, he just looked. I rate him pretty highly. in terms of a fighter. And even Ian Gary's been posting some of his highlights on Instagram, and just looking back on them, he's like, he uses everything. He uses all his limbs, his knees. He was really impressive. I know I was big on him in the last podcast, but I didn't expect him to look that good. Like I even said, 29-28 decision, maybe Gabe Green steals around, but he looked phenomenal. And maybe Robbie was right. It's that dad strength or
Maybe,
upcoming dad strength.
It's that extra like burst of inspiration that he needed. He looked great. The next fight was kind of, we said like the people's main event in a weird way. Like everyone was looking forward to Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. This one was quick. I think it was like 2 minutes, 30 seconds, something like that. And the combo that ended it, not even the combo, it was like 2 punches really. The first one that rocked Strickland, the sound of it on the broadcast was nuts. I went back and listened to it 100 times because you hear like the pop on that punch, and then the way he just goes down like a fucking sack of bricks was crazy.
That wasn't even that hard of a punch by Pereira, I don't think. He really
was just in the perfect spot, like the placement of it was crazy. Yeah,
he literally has a touch of death. Like that was like Sean Strickland is not. I wouldn't consider him chinny. Like that was just
hasn't lost in 4 or 5 years.
That was a perfectly placed left hand from someone that has very high level knockout power. That was very, very, very impressive.
Basically, exactly what the UFC wanted to happen here.
Oh my God! The UFC board was literally coming their pants.
Yeah.
As Sean Strickland was laid out on the mat, like just standing up and just fumbling around the cage.
Yeah,
they played it perfectly. They played it perfectly. Yeah. They played their hand as
bringing him back out during the main event was great. Yeah, and then Adesanya, in a weird way, him not getting the finish and the great performance makes that more intriguing for people because they're like, oh shit, did he not? You know.
I'm glad you said that because that was my point right after the fight. I kind of felt that same way too because I feel like now going into that title fight, it was going to be huge regardless. But I think now people are just like the general public, we'll say the casuals, if you will, are just very like down on Izzy, just saying that he's like not exciting.
And the Chris Pratt take, basically.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm sure we'll get more into that. But I think now people just think he's very beatable, and they see a dude. Because in that whenever the fight is, 2 months leading up to it, they are going to play Izzy getting slept on a fucking loop. And they are going to tell you this is the guy that could beat the guy.
Yeah.
Like that's all that's going to be.
The guy, yeah.
Yeah, who has beat the guy in another sport and now has much smaller gloves to knock him out with.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. We were on a little Twitter Spaces after the fight, and I posed the question. I asked what line do you think they put on the fight? Everyone seemed to be pretty much between like minus 200 and like 300. I actually saw, I think it was like I don't think it's offshore, but it came out like even like minus like 180 for Izzy, which is wild. That's actually coincidentally that's the smallest favorite he's been. If that's the line that comes out, that'll be the smallest favorite he's been, weirdly, since Paulo Costa. Which is kind of funny. Which is funny looking back on it.
Yeah.
But Paulo Costa was literally only plus like 140, which is crazy.
Well, we didn't know he was going to get drunk.
Yeah, that too. I guess he also was undefeated at the time.
Yeah, and he has that crazy power. Like leading into that fight, he was sleeping people.
But yeah, this is different.
I honestly thought Strickland looked like decent for the first few minutes of the fight. The only thing the thing about Pereira is like if you stop. And he just takes advantage of it. Like if you stop coming forward, or also something with Strickland is trying to stand up and like kind of like, I just wish he used his wrestling a little bit more, specifically earlier in the fight. But
did you see what Jamal Hill sent him too?
I saw that.
Jamal Hill posted like a month ago. He sent him like, "Hey, dude, your guy sets up a 1-2 to like, and then into a hook right behind the ear. Like, watch out for that. I think you could counter it with this." And I think he like left him on red or something. And Jamal Hill posted it like, "Dude, I tried to tell you."
Yeah, he was like saying that the defense, how like he usually goes like this and just like blocks it, and needed it to go like the full,
like to block behind the ear, basically.
he called it like a hammer or something, like a like saying that
Hammer
it's like
block or something.
a
Yeah.
hammer block or something because it's like the form like you're hitting a hammer.
Yeah. Crazy knockout. Kind of got the card back on track, these two fights after the weird eye poke ending. And then we had arguably Alexander Volkanovski's greatest performance of his career. You could say the last one was against Korean Zombie. But, I mean, when you do something like this against Max Holloway, 50-45, that's fucking nuts.
Pound for pound, one.
He might be. Yeah.
No, I think no argument. That was unbelievable. No. Right now, this second pound for pound one.
Him and Usman. They're the only two you could say, right?
Dominant over the guy who used to be dominant until he showed up.
Yeah.
Dominant. That was,
and it kind of went exactly as we thought it would when we talked about this fight last week. Where we were like, the time in between the fights, like, has probably helped Volkanovski and hurt Holloway. It very much played out like that.
I said that, and it still was even more than I thought.
Yeah.
It still was even more like I thought it was going to be very decisive. It was even more lopsided than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was like he was so much faster than Max. He had nothing for
talking shit to him in the middle of the fight.
I mean, they could fight 10 times right now. I don't think he would win one time.
Agreed.
Like that was
unfortunately agreed.
He had nothing for him. He's slower and doesn't hit as hard. Like there's nothing there for him.
Yeah. There wasn't even one punch during the fight where it was like, oh, that could have clipped. Like, nothing.
No, never.
His face looked fucked up too. That cut on the eyebrow when he put the Q-tip inside of it. Like I said, it was like putting a hot dog inside a bun. It was like it just swallowed it.
That's what I said. I said it was like putting a Q-tip up into his brain.
Yeah. It's so gross.
That shit was deep as hell.
Yeah. And then the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. This was not quite the fight a lot of people wanted out of Adesanya because of the way he talked in the lead up. We were saying, the last time he talked this way, he got a great finish, great performance. He wanted to go in there and kill. It was more of a technical masterclass, you would say, because it was another one where I never felt like Jared Cannonier had a shot in this fight. So amazing job on controlling him with the jab. His jab looked great. Keeping him away and whatnot. The Undertaker entrance was an all-timer. It was amazing when the gong hit. He started walking out with the hat in the urn. But I thought I did think it peaked at the entrance. Like, I hate to say it, but in the middle of that fight, I caught myself looking at Twitter, a lot more. It wasn't quite the fight I wanted out of Stylebender. And maybe I'm, the Chris Pratts of the world. I'm just a fan. He's the man. But, I would have liked to see a more exciting performance.
Yeah, it was. I think I was probably like looking back on it the night of. I probably was a little more harsh on him. I think there was a point in like the third and fourth round that my like PTSD judge brain was like, oh, like Cannonier held him up against the cage for a minute, like 2 minutes, like maybe like the judges will fuck around and like give him like this round, like maybe. Which I think
the same thing. I thought the same thing.
I was literally the third round. I thought you could have maybe given Cannonier. I think one of the judges, one did maybe or two, but regardless, I mean, I had to go back and watch it again. Like I thought it was. I didn't think the fight was like close. Like I definitely didn't think Adesanya lost or anything. I weirdly thought that there was like a slight chance that one of the judges was going to make it like 48-47, which I still think probably would have been wrong. I thought 49-46 was probably the correct card, or even like I had no issues at 50-45 because Cannonier didn't really do anything besides like just cage control, just in the clinch. But I mean, I'm surprised that Cannonier didn't take more chances.
Yeah, agreed.
Like my breakdown of the fight prior was that I thought Cannonier was going to take the chances that Izzy would need to knock him out, where he comes in aggressive and then gets caught by Izzy, and that didn't happen. I mean, and it seems like just no one's willing to take those chances with Izzy, so we're just getting boring fights out of him. Like it's partly not his fault. Because, I mean, it's kind of like he's just in cruise control and, like, no one's making him put his foot on the gas. So he's kind of just, like, chilling and just waiting for, like,
he's just waiting for someone to do it. It's tough when you see a fight like the one before it, too, though. I saw that a lot of people said, that's a casual take, Robbie. Blame Cannonier, don't blame Stylebender. But it's tough when you see a champ like Volkanovski take it to his opponent the way he did in the fight beforehand and go, could Stylebender not do that to Cannonier? Was he afraid of the knockout power? Was he just, content with being in cruise control mode and laying in the jab all night? That was another reason I think Cannonier didn't take more chances. His eye got busted up with the jab like almost immediately. And I think he was just like trepidatious after that.
Yeah,
Wiz Cuppy said
go
in the comments, he's like, how is Izzy getting all the blame if Cannonier didn't do anything either? I thought Cannonier actually had a good game plan, like coming into this. Like he was gonna have to like get him against the cage. He was gonna have to press forward. Izzy kind of shut that down immediately. Whether we like it or not, or boring or whatever. Like Izzy did what champions do, and he pretty much shut it down. I would have liked him to absolutely put on a Volk-like performance, which he's going to have to do in this next fight now.
That's what we said about this fight, though, at the same time.
Yeah.
And he swore, like Brian Christie pointed out, swore we're going to see something special in that cage. You're going to see something special in this fight over my last couple of fights. And that was very much not the case. It seemed like he was disappointed with himself after the fight. Then there was a little clip of him talking to Eugene afterwards. And he was just like, kind of the tone he had, he was kind of down on himself. So it's like, I think he knows there's a little part of him deep down that's like, I would have liked to get a finish.
Also, about Volk, like one more, like comparing the two, Volk broke his hand in the first round, apparently.
That's like, crazy. When I saw that clip, I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
It's insane.
He was so casual about it. He's walking back. He's like, I fucking broke my fucking hand in the first round, too. It's the worst Australian accent ever.
If he threw it with zero fear for the next 4 rounds.
Yeah.
But I think with Izzy, there's kind of this weird, like, I try to see both sides of it where, like, try to see, like, the, like, really breaking down the sport and, like, appreciating the great, like, just, like, the masterfulness on his side of the sport. He's almost, like, these last few fights have almost, I compared it to almost how Floyd was in boxing. Like, kind of this, like, hit and don't get hit thing where, like, Floyd's fights weren't always exciting, but he just never was in danger of losing. He never was getting caught or anything. He pretty much was leaving these fights unscathed. Pretty similar to how, like, Izzy's leaving these fights. He just touch, don't get touched.
It's a fact.
Not really threatening to knock anyone out. He did drop Whitaker in the first round of the last fight, and he even kind of said I've heard his kind of breakdown of that, and that he thinks if he set up, he kind of just like stopped doing that, like what he did to land that knockout, like setting up the traps, and that he kind of wished he had like done that more, and that he might have got Whitaker to walk into a knockout. Obviously, he didn't really do that against Cannonier, but I agree part of it is Cannonier's fault. I think there's this disconnect of like he is dominant, but obviously like fighting, and especially a huge card like that, where probably more like average fans are buying it than not, because Adesanya has become a huge star. O'Malley's on it. Like, I think he's getting new eyeballs on pay-per-views, like the young crowd, so that aren't watching MMA all the time. So when they see him do this, they're just like not entertained, and they're like, oh, like he sucks, like he's a bum. We obviously, like, we watch the sport, we know that's not true. He's like a pound for pound top 2, 3, like no question. One of, like, if not the best in the world, one of them. There's just kind of a weird disconnect in that. It's a weird like kind of line you have to toe of like being great, but also his last few fights have not been fan favorites. Yeah. But his few fights before that he's had some phenomenal like fan favorite fights in the UFC. Like coming in, he's had some great knockouts. Like Brunson, like Brunson Gastelum fight was one of the best fights you'll ever see. Like obviously the Paulo Costa fight was just dominant, ends up with a big knockout. Like fights like that, he's had a lot of those in the UFC early in his career, but just
even the clip he posted on Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was like a 30-second clip of highlights. It was like 3 jabs.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
I was shocked that he posted that, and the caption was almost like, "Oh, I didn't do nothing. Watch this." And it was like 3 jabs and a body shot. It was great, and none of them appeared to hurt Cannonier in the slightest.
No,
they snapped his head back, but he was fine. Like, I don't know. Should we move on to some headlines, some things coming out of the card?
I do want to say he's got to stop with the
Elsa Frozen quote.
The Elsa Frozen thing. It's got to go.
That was rough. That was not.
He said it during the press conference to I think Strickland, and then he said it again. Also, Frozen's like was a thing when we were in high school. Like,
it's not a like popular reference to make anymore.
Like it's
been like I'll make you my minion.
Yeah, like make a minion. I was about to say that. Make a minion joke. Like Like Izzy, you're supposed to be on like social media, be like a part of the people, and like you're making
The Frozen like Elsa was horrible. I cringed
also
when he
like
said that.
Frozen is not a thing to like. It's not a fighting. It's like it's weird to. It's not a reference to talk about when you're trying to like legitimately knock
It
out
was also
somebody.
not like clever. He said you'll be frozen like Elsa. Like Elsa,
No, you'll
like
be
if
put on
you've seen a
skates
movie,
like
or
Elsa.
yeah.
It's just like us. Like, come on, Izzy, you're
All
better
right,
than that.
yeah.
I will say though,
He needs better writers.
it stinks that Strickland. I am with this. It's a tough name to say, but Sloppy Toppy. Izzy is 50% corny, 50% cool. I said it on Twitter before the fight. It was like the UFC 276 card is awesome because it starts with an elk boy and like fighting in it, and then ends with like a anime guy. Like they somehow rose to the top.
The guy who all week has been like, yeah, jerk off to anime.
Yeah.
What about it?
But then they both kind of disappointed, so it was kind of like but yeah, let's move on. I just wanted to get you'll be put on, and he walked out on that too. He like dropped the mic. He was like,
Yeah.
I'll put you on skates like Elsa. I'm sure like them trying to tell him that, like explain that to Pereira is like,
He's just like, what?
Like
Why
what
would
does
he
he
say
mean
that?
by that?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I more just thought it was tough to just keep saying you're gonna put people on skates and you're just not knocking people out.
Yeah. That's also
The last three fights he really, like I said, he dropped Whitaker in the first round, but I mean the Vettori fight, Vettori was never in like real danger. I wouldn't really say Cannonier was ever in real danger.
Never.
Whitaker was when he got dropped in the first round, and that was really it. He never was in danger after that.
Last thing for the card, Jalen Turner and Andre Muniz are both like
great performances.
Studs.
Yeah.
Studs. They both are deserving of like top 15, and they need to get like top 10 fights ASAP. I really wanted Andre Muniz to get the Jack Hermanson fight.
Ooh.
I really wanted that. But I'm fine with
nice.
Curtis too.
Yeah.
Munez is going to be just his style. He's going to be another guy in that division that like people just don't really want to fight.
Yeah, exactly. His grappling is so legit, but he should have gotten a rear naked choke like 18 goddamn times. That was so frustrating to watch.
I will say I did look up Uriah Hall had never been submitted.
Yeah.
So his defense has been good.
We kind of mentioned it, but Darren Till out of his fight at UFC London. Unfortunately, he was going to be in the co-main event. He wasn't on the card last time, and they had him come around to do like some kind of fan Q&A thing, and he was around all fight week, and fans were going crazy for him there. Like, you got to be on the next card. We want to see you, UFC Liverpool, whatever. And I was really, really looking forward to seeing him on this card. The Sweet Caroline entrance in O2. That would be awesome. People going nuts for him. But unfortunately, he's out. I think it's undisclosed at this point why he's out. We'll see what happens there. Is there an official replacement?
Chris
Curtis?
Yep, 100%.
That's UFC official. Okay.
Yep,
That's still a good fight.
Massive
fight. Doesn't have
Chris
that
Curtis.
co-main event feel like, a Darren Till fight would.
They almost should move it down the card, honestly.
Like Patty could be the co-main event.
Yeah, make Patty the co-main 100%.
Yeah. But Patty may say, hey, put some more zeros,
I know this is kind of off track. The fact that the Long Island card and London card are back to back, I can't believe Jack Shores is on the Long Island card.
I know. It's nuts.
I don't know. It's really
crazy.
Wild. The fact that
why
they're
wouldn't
like a
they
week
swap
apart.
that? It's insane that they.
Because that's a cute like.
Are they just trying to get him in front of an American crowd to like get him more popular over here? I don't know.
Maybe because him and Ricky Simone's a huge fight.
The crowd was going insane for him. That was so early on in the card last time. And I remember he like just got up from a takedown or something.
Yep.
And they went nuts like it was like a knockdown. Nuts, yeah. His dad was also like a huge fighter in for like the Welsh. So whole fighting family there. And then the Tommy Fury thing. He's also out of his fight against Jake Paul. Jake says he ran scared. Certainly appears so. I don't know what the details about that are. A former sparring partner of Jake's is now in. I believe his name is Hassan Rahman Jr.
I don't know about Lee, but we all have substantially more Instagram followers than the guy who Jake Paul's. It's insane. He has like 5,000 followers on
Well,
Instagram.
but Bivol just had 9,000 when he beat Canelo.
That's
Something to
true.
think about.
Good
That's
counter
true.
by Bob. Wait, hold on, Bob. You said he was Jake Paul. I knew he was a sparring partner. He was Jake Paul's sparring partner.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I that could be correct.
I believe Ariel Helwani tweeted today, like, "Oh, stop making a big deal out of the fact that they were former sparring partners. Like, former sparring partners fight all the time."
Yeah, you're right.
I thought it was okay. I just interpreted it as he just at one point was a sparring partner, which I thought was weird for people to chirp because there's tons of people who have once been sparring partners have turned into
I
very
think
good
they
fighters.
Specifically together.
Okay, interesting.
That's
interesting.
Yeah.
He's 12-1.
He's allegedly bigger than Jake, more experienced than Jake. He legitimately is more experienced than Jake. So he is checking some of the boxes that we've wanted him to check for a while. So I guess credit to him for that. I've seen people say that his last fight was shameful. So
he lost. He's 12-1. He lost his last fight. I need to do research. It just came out this morning. That's all I know about him. I will not be throwing a bag.
People did say his dad famously knocked out Lennox Lewis.
He did, yes.
That's like where this guy became a name and everything.
He's his namesake as well. Former heavyweight champ. I don't know anything about him, so I'm gonna have to do research before I have any calls on like who I think is gonna win the fight.
I'm interested in seeing Jake fight a bigger guy.
Yeah, I am too. I don't like the fact that they're sparring partners, strictly for the fact that is gonna open up a massive cans of took a dive.
Yep. It is.
They know each other personally.
Like,
it's a guy who's made literally no money boxing probably at all.
Yeah.
And this is going to be by far – he's probably going to make more for this fight than he's made combined in all of his fights.
Absolutely.
It's crazy that this is going to headline over a legit Amanda Serrano fight.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I guess he is bringing the eye, so I'm not going to
I would like to attend if I can.
Yeah. Well –
I plan on it if I can. Oh, you're doing a show, Bob.
I'm doing a Pup Punk show, so rough.
So maybe I'll call up to that. Maybe I can
F plans on skipping out on Pup Punk for Jake Paul. He's replaced us in his heart.
No, people forget I was on stage for the first one. One of my favorite Barstool moments.
Well, you could probably do both. You could probably like skip out on the encore and go watch the Jake Paul fight or something.
But what theater is it at in the city?
Gramercy Theater. It's super close. It's close to the office. You could walk.
I legitimately might try to do both. That's serious.
Yeah. That would be a fun night. All right, let's talk about this weekend's UFC card. Finally, we've got the Battle of the Rafaels. They've tried to make this before, but it's going down this weekend. It's an Apex card. Do you want to start prelims, work our way up? Do you want to do just general prelim picks, all of the prelim cards? How do you guys want to handle this?
I don't think there's that much. We probably can go through because I don't think there's that many fights.
I think there's
there's not really prelims, I think. I think it's just regular.
It's interesting. Like the first fight of the night, even the first two fights of the night are almost like pretty good. And then there's a run.
It is a good card.
Then there's a run of like 4 fights that are like, oh my God, these are bad. But the first 2 fights are good. I mean, I'm really interested to see Ronnie Lawrence again. And then he is going against this, I think his name's Saeed Kakramanov. Yeah. And I've already bet Ronnie. I think Ronnie's going to just like
I like him here.
Wrestle him. His pace is going to get to him, and I see him winning a decision. However, Saeed can hit, and there is a shot that he catches Ronnie Lawrence. And I think, if I recall correctly, Ronnie Lawrence was hurt in his last fight. So I could see Saeed, but both these guys are 2 really good prospects, and I think we'll be watching them if they stay in the UFC or definitely in the MMA world for a long time to come. I'm really excited for this fight.
This is a banger. This is just a straight banger to open the card. I like Lawrence too. I think he has the grappling advantage. I don't think Sayukub is good in his first level of defense. He has a judo background, has a sambo background. But on the mat, I don't think he's very good at all. And Ronnie's going to continuously chain wrestle. He averages 9.15 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's an insane number.
It's a lot.
Like he's gotten over like 70% of those takedowns too. I think he puts a pace on him. I like for sure. Saeed Yakub can crack. He did well in his debut, short notice against Trevin Jones, but he also came in heavy for that fight by 2.5 pounds. He weighed in at 38.5, so we haven't seen him at a full camp mode. I still like Ronnie Lawrence. I think he's a parlay piece. I think he's a straight piece this week. I'm betting on him.
I've had an AirPod go down there.
Yeah, that's tough.
It was a quick mid-podcast fight, Ev versus the AirPod.
I almost caught it too.
I love Ronnie Lawrence there. The next fight is a light heavyweight fight, another good one. Kennedy Nchukwu versus Carl Robertson. I like Kennedy here. What are the odds on this? Kennedy slight favorite?
Yeah,
Kennedy
Robertson's
favorite?
slight. Robertson's plus like 110, 115 range.
I think it's been moving up a little bit. Same, Ronnie Lawrence, similar line movement. It's gone. Like Ronnie Lawrence is up to, I think, probably minus 140, minus 145 now. And then Kenny and Nchukwu, I think it did open minus 105, minus 110 on each side. And now it's Kennedy's kind of the favorite up in the minus 125, minus 130 range. However, this is a fight. I'm on Kennedy here, but I like Kennedy, but he did lose to, I don't know how to say that guy.
The Transylvania guy.
Yep.
But
The Transylvania pain train, I think.
he should have. I think he won that fight, though. I think everyone kind of agreed. It was kind of a robbery. He had a point deducted. But I think Kennedy's a guy who's like, every time I've seen him, he's improved. And he's a guy that I've heard works like he's at Fortis MMA, which I think is Darren Williams' camp, like in Dallas or Houston, wherever Darren Williams. And I think he owns part of that gym. Obviously, then he didn't knock out Frank Gore. He fought him. But that being said, I think Kennedy's a guy who works very hard. He keeps getting better. He's built insane. He's built just absolutely insane. Like he's going to be the much taller guy in the ring, and his reach is. I think he has a 9-inch reach advantage.
9-inch reach advantage. 83 versus 74. 83 for Kennedy.
And Carl Robertson, this is one of those things that is a little bit like, how do you rate Carl Roberson's last performance? Was it just a bad one? I guess he had a bad weight cut or whatever. And then who was it who just destroyed him?
We covered it on the podcast.
He cried after, and Sean Strickland called him a pussy.
Yeah, he did.
It was against
Khalil Roundtree.
Yep.
Khalil
Roundtree. And I think Roundtree's pretty good, but we'll see.
Also, the chat is going crazy right now because some guy, he got me with it, but he said R.I.P. Ja Rule. Ja Rule's not dead. I just looked it up.
No, that's the thing. People go into these chats and they'll be like, R.I.P. Joe Rogan.
And everyone saying, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? Ja Rule's dead." No. Ja Rule's alive. Probably watching UFC this weekend.
And things like that actually work because I've been on a show where that's actually happened.
Oh yeah, that happens sometimes.
Me and Brandon were live on Pick Central when Ray Liotta died. R.I.P.
Rest in peace, a legend.
And all of a sudden, people just started flooding the chat with Ray Liotta, and I was like, no way. And then the first thing on Twitter was TMZ.
I just went on Twitter. I went on Google. I typed in Ja Rule. Hand up. He got me. Thought Ja Rule was dead. Ja Rule, very much alive.
Glad to hear you're safe, pal. Big Ja Rule guy.
Yeah. 50 Cent, not glad to hear it. The next fight, David Onama is the biggest favorite on the card. He's minus 770 on the Barstool Sportsbook. I don't even know if he would be worth putting in a parlay at that point. He has an opponent that he faced 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that, and already beat. This is a short notice. Garrett Armfield. He is the bantamweight champ. Where, Lee?
FAC. It's the James Krause promotion in the Midwest.
There you go. And minus 770. I mean, goes without saying. I feel
it's
like
not
he's
worth
gonna
it.
Dominate that fight. Yeah, no.
Yeah, he didn't finish him in the first fight. We went to decision. I don't want, and seemed like I'm sure Onama's definitely bigger, more athletic, and powerful. All that. From what I gather from the Armfield guy, he's kind of like a scrappy guy that'll go for it kind of guy. So I don't want any part of minus 770. No. Will he win? Probably, but good.
He'll probably win in round one. But
yeah,
is a dude that it's a dude that he already faced. And
Yeah.
the dude's a 35er, coming up to 45, but he trains at Sanford. So good camp. He's won like his last 5, I think.
Who was Onama supposed to fight?
His name's Armfield, I think. His last
No,
name's
who
Armfield.
was he?
Oh,
I don't remember who the original
who the
fight
fuck
was against.
it?
I'll just look it up on Tapology.
Here, I got it. Hold up. Who was it? It was Austin Lingo, who he was going to
Yes.
dominate.
Yes.
That I already placed a bet with him and a guy later on before it got canceled. I beat the line movement on that one.
We
I was
should
pissed.
quickly. The one thing we didn't touch on for UFC 276, which Hot Boys just brought up in the chat. Did you see the clip of we saw it because we talked about it in the group chat of the full send MMA guy
Oh, yeah.
just being slapped by Nate Diaz?
Nate
Do we
Diaz.
think that was real?
I thought it
Yeah.
was fake.
I
it
kept
was
going back
fake?
and forth. The way he
I thought
smacked the
it
mic
was.
and like waited a second and then smacked the guy, I thought maybe he. And the question was also so like it seemed like a setup to me because I know he's cool with the full send guys, so I could see them being like, "Yo,
okay.
let's go fucking super viral. I'm gonna come up to you, say something, and you just give me a Stockton slap."
Yeah, I'm on the fence with it, Bob. I'm kind of with you.
I'm very on the fence. I think it's
I
funny
think-
regardless. It was a funny video.
Because I know the guy. He's done MMA stuff for a long time. I think they just had a bunch of submissions and they picked him, and he's like done it for a while, and he seems to be pretty good at it. I watched. He did an interview with O'Malley that he seems like a pretty good interviewer. Like you could tell it wasn't like his first rodeo. But I mean, I could see a guy like that going up to Nate Diaz, knowing he's a happy dad guy, he's a full send guy, being like, "Hey, like, why don't I ask you a question? You give me a big old Stockton slap on the head."
I would do
And then
that. I mean, that would be
Hell
amazing.
yeah.
Smack the glasses off my face, dude. Like that would go super viral.
I'm on record on the show saying if we ever had him on, I want him to choke me out.
Yeah.
So I absolutely would believe a little smack. And also, I think Nate Diaz, if he was pissed, I think he would have smacked him harder. To be honest with you,
Yeah, true. He did.
I
It
don't
was
think-
kind of like in the head. He smacked the hat off, kind of. Yeah.
I don't think Nate Diaz just gives like half-ass slaps. Like I think if he's actually mad at you, like you're catching a real.
And
slap.
I think you're catching it before the mic's catching it.
for sure.
You know,
For sure.
it was kind of like a
Agreed.
mic thing, then a slap thing. So I'm on the fence. I could see it being real if they came out and said it's
Yeah.
real. It's like, all right. I guess he might have said something about his training partner, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm usually not like conspiracy theory guy, but that's one where I think that could've been
Security
set.
guards didn't do anything. It's like they told the security guards like, chill out, we're doing a bit.
Yeah.
You know.
Agreed.
Next fight on the card is a Spinnin Backfist guy. Cody Brundage makes his return to the octagon against Trayshawn Gore. I believe Brundage is the slight underdog in this fight, but because he's a Spinnin Backfist guy, I will be forced to ride with him because I like Cody.
It's an interesting fight. The classic kind of striker versus grappler. Trayshawn Gore's is kind of weird. It's weird. He's definitely way better on the feet. He's definitely more powerful. Like Brundage doesn't have crazy hands, so it's kind of like, I mean, even in the last fight, Brundage pretty much almost died, and then just like jumped and then was able to like jump guillotine and pull it off. I like Brundage a lot. I love talking to him. I definitely think Brundage has a good chance to win. Like I think the line probably makes sense because Trayshawn Gore, he hits hard. He's like I said, he's a good athlete, but he's very like low volume. Like he doesn't throw. That was what lost him the fight to Brian Battle, which is pretty much like the real like tough finale. Gore missed it because he had an injury and they had someone else replacement, and then they just ran back that fight and he lost to Brian Battle, which I did think he lost the fight, but it was purely Gore just didn't throw enough. I could see maybe if he comes out in this fight, like he's a guy that he's definitely capable of knocking Brundage out. He just has big knockout power, but I do think like Brundage's cardio is probably much better. He's definitely much better on the ground, better wrestler. So I definitely could see a world where even like Gore lands a big shot and then Brundage is able to get him down and just make it like an ugly fight, which is exactly what Brundage wants to do. Just make it a ground fight, just kind of scrap it out.
He has to wrestle here.
Yeah.
Like, I think if Cody, if you're listening, please wrestle. Please wrestle. But I think
just
he has
send him a DM and say, please wrestle.
He has like the decidedly the grappling advantage here.
100%.
And Gore doesn't throw a lot and he still gets tired. So if that's going to be the case,
Gore's activity levels leaves some things to be desired.
Yeah, for sure. And Cody has Cody can go 15. Like that's
100%.
for sure. I like what Ryan Grant said. It doesn't go to decision as the play here. I agree. I like that. I think that Cody could catch him late, or other guy could catch him. Gore could catch him early. So I like doesn't go to decision as well.
What is Cody by submission? That may be worth a stab, or
I think the play I was going to go for, I was probably going to play Cody straight and then also play him inside the distance, because I agree with Lee, where I think it could be like Cody either does land a submission, or I could see Cody in like the third round, just after like just wrestle fucking him for like 3 rounds, just kind of get on top. Gore's tired, just rain those punches down, kind of thing. Get a, I won't call it a weak finish, but not like some crazy knockout finish. Just kind of
More
like
of a TKO.
The TKO just wore him down and just broke him, kind of thing. I could definitely see Cody winning a fight like that.
Yeah, Cody by sub is plus 400. Inside the distance is plus 210. I would go finish over anything. I think the under those is probably the best play. Under 2.5 is minus 106. I like that a good bit.
The next fight, we've got Antonina Shevchenko versus Courtney Casey. Shevchenko minus 195 on the Barstool Sportsbook. Courtney Casey plus 150. I think those odds are about right. I see Shevchenko taking this one. Obviously not living up to the potential of her last name in terms of she's not the killer that her sister is, but she's a good fighter.
Hey, she's all right. I'm not paying the minus 195 for her. Like, she's a great kickboxer.
Courtney Casey, though, you don't think that's deserved? Courtney Casey isn't great.
Courtney Casey isn't great, but I could see Courtney Casey just kind of. Antonina has always struggled with kind of grappling a little bit, and if Casey can take down Antonina once or twice, maybe she can steal a decision. This is a fight that's really not. Like, I mean, obviously I'll watch it, but I'm not really excited for this one. This is one that I thought should have like kicked off the card, but I guess what they've been doing recently is kicking off the card with a little bit more of an exciter and then putting these doozies a little bit in the middle.
These doozies.
Antonina has let me down so many times. I just like, but yeah,
that's the thing where she gets these wins and gets up to the level where you're like, oh, is she about to like get past that one mark that she can't seem to give, and then usually it's no is the answer.
Yeah, like Ryan Grant's putting up a hell of a performance in the chat right now. I completely agree with what he just said. Casey by armbar. Antonina tends to work from clinch into takedowns and is very vulnerable on the ground. And we saw, like we said last week, this would be our second straight armbar called on the podcast because Lee called that. We didn't talk about that, but that was
impressive.
Impressive.
By broke her arm.
It's a great call.
Julia Stolarenko. I mean,
yeah, that snap too is just.
And her walking out. I should have known when she was walking out. She looked like she was ready for. It was war, Julia. It was war Stolarenko. She was ready to go.
Why can't she do that?
Blog did well too. People love an arm snap. Like, I blogged almost all the finishes from the card, and that one was towards the top the whole night. People just want to see an arm
I put
snap.
it on on Barstool Sports Twitter, and it did like better than a lot of the other stuff outside.
I know.
Of,
shocked
obviously
me.
The knockout of Strickland.
Yeah.
That was like I'm fighting for my job performance.
Yeah.
Like, even though I agree with Jack, even the way she came out, like, this is like she, like, some people rise up to that challenge, some people fold. Like, she was ready to, like, I'm ready to die for this next contract. Like, I'm ready to die for this last fight.
And then the highlighted prelim here is Alamen Zahibi versus Ricky Tercios. He's the Ultimate Fighter winner.
Yep.
Ultimate Fighter season 29. I believe this is his first UFC fight, right?
No, I think
other than
he's fought once before.
Okay.
No, the tough. No.
Other than the finale, I mean.
Yeah, no, that's his first one then.
Okay.
Okay, so
first one where he's wearing the real shorts. He's a Venom guy now.
Yeah,
got it.
It's tough because this is, if you want to talk about low work rate in the ring and just low work rate in general, the hobby just like doesn't fight. Like, he doesn't fight like he doesn't have fights on his, and then once he gets in, he he's like almost too. He like takes his time. He's a coach. His brother is a great coach, I think.
He was
And
the coach GSP.
yeah. And
Ross.
Sahabi is Canadian as well. And Tertios, I just think is gonna go like, I don't know, like I don't know if I want to pay the price on him, but I think Tertios is just gonna go in there and just like piece him up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then just kind of I've seen some love for Zahabi, as Ryan Grant says, as the best value on the card. It is kind of like veteran against newbie. I'm probably going to stay away. Maybe I'll put Tertios in like a parlay or something.
I
How
think
good can
I think it's
the game
Dogger
planning
Pass.
happen for him?
What did you say, Lee? Sorry.
I think it's a Dogger Pass spot.
Okay.
I think it's either you bet Zahabi or you bet like Tercios like round 3, because you know Tercios has a chin. You know he's going to come forward. You know he's going to hit you with combos. He's good on his back on his ground, but I don't think he can actually offensively wrestle that well. I don't know. I would stay away from this fight personally, but I think Zahabi's probably the side, if anything.
Yeah, it's one of those things with Zahabi where obviously Jack references low work rate, which is obviously true. In this fight, fighting Tercios, he's probably not even going to have that option, really. I mean, it's like Tercios going to come forward. He's going to push the face. That's just his fighting style. So I'm very curious to see how Zahabi like reacts to that, because Tercios is going to be in his face the whole time.
He put Draco out cold. He put him out cold in this last fight, but Draco was landing. Like Draco had the bigger work rate. I think Draco would. I think I would bet Draco Rodriguez though right now versus Tercios. If that makes sense. Like
no, I don't because that's kind of how I think a lot of people are like, especially people that like Zahabi. Like I think they're thinking a similar thing where like Tercios is going to come forward, and then Zahabi's going to eventually like land that big shot.
Yeah.
Or land 2 big shots and like put him out or like get him down and get him hurt. I kind of agree. I don't like love Zahabi, but I'm definitely not betting Tercios minus 200 or 200 plus.
Yeah.
In the first fight of the main card, we've got another steep line on Jamie Malarkey. This one might be deserved,
why did TJ Hitchings' dad say R.I.P. James?
Is he trying to get us now?
So James Conn? James Conn.
Shout out Tim Hitchings,
the legend. Tim
big
Hitchings,
supporter of the Spinnin
Oh
Backfist
man, he
parlay.
actually died.
Did he really? Get out of here!
Oh no, he actually died. Oh,
He didn't get us with one.
No, I just looked it up. They just reported it.
Damn.
Like,
Oh man, rest in peace.
Damn.
Rest in peace, man.
Ray Liotta now fucking.
The Godfather, Funny Lady,
No.
Elf, Brian's Song, Rollerball,
Damn.
Misery, Thief. I mean, this guy, a true legend. Rest in peace.
I think one of my favorite characters that like deaths that affected me for no reason, but Sonny and Godfather for whatever reason, like I thought he could have had an amazing character arc, and then obviously he got killed in that. But R.I.P. James Can. Sorry, we thought it was a joke because
that happened earlier in the episode with Ja Rule.
Ja Rule.
Yeah. Rest in peace. All right, main card: Michael Johnson versus Jamie Malarkey. Jamie Malarkey minus 250. Michael Johnson plus 195. Michael Johnson's always going to make it an entertaining fight. Can he make this a victory over Jamie Malarkey? I'm going to say no.
I'm having a hard time with this one, Lee. If you had any takes, go ahead. I'm having a hard time with this one.
I think this is a good spot to bet Malarkey live. Johnson's going to fade a little bit. Johnson probably is going to win round 1 like he always does. And if he doesn't knock him out then, I don't think he wins. Ryan said in the chat has a shaky chin just like Johnson. I don't think Malarkey has a shaky chin. He's gotten like knocked out by Jalen Turner. That's not hit him
Turner.
Hit him with
a million punches before he took him out.
Yeah.
And Turner got him to the ground with a knee. It wasn't even like
Hmm.
the right hook. I think the right hook obviously hurt, but it was the knee before that I think really did him in. So um, I think Malarkey is probably gonna win. I don't think he's worth minus 240. Um, but I think it's a good matchup. I think Malarkey live is probably the best spot. But everybody knows that Michael Johnson is gonna fade. So I think Malarkey is still a good parlay piece though. Um, I that's what I would think.
Maybe a little. I could see a little sprinkle in like Malarkey by sub. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I don't mind that.
Because I guess I do kind of agree with Lee where it's like I just don't love it betting wise because I agree. I think Malarkey should win, but I don't love paying minus 260, 265 on him because Johnson's just very like I mean his hands are super fast and super crisp. Like he's very capable of doing damage. He's talent. It's like Michael Johnson's is frustrating sometimes because he's super talented, but he's like 20 and 18 for a reason. He loses a lot of fights.
Yeah, and he's 36 now, and also like I think Alan Patrick is probably one of the worst guys like on the roster, and Alan Patrick
Was Landon.
was landing, and I think Malarkey's better than that. Like, oh, big, like
Yeah,
hot
for
take
sure.
Jack, but like significantly. And there was even points where Patrick looked like he kind of hurt Michael Johnson. I think Malarkey will be able to do it. And someone just said in the chat, looking back on how, and you guys just mentioned it too, looking back on Malarkey getting finished by Jalen Turner, no shame in that. So
No, and
Not
I'm
at
telling
all.
you, anyone I would suggest anyone to go back and watch the fight. He rained on him for the entire first round, and Malarkey still hung in there, and then he rained on him for the duration of the second round until basically he landed the big knee. Like Malarkey ate a ton of big shots that I think would have put out most guys in the division. So I do think Malarkey's not chinny. I think he's a pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
It took him taking a beating before he got out of there.
I think Malarkey round 3 is like a must play here.
Yeah, I don't hate that either.
I think it's
I
a
don't
must.
hate it
I
either.
don't. It might be as low as like. I'll look it up. I bet it's like plus 800 ish.
This him by sub I want to say was a pretty like big number. I was surprised. I remember looking how big it was. I don't know if it's changed at all.
By sub is plus 550.
It went down
And
a little
then-
bit. I still like it there.
And then Malarkey round 3 plus 800.
Yeah,
I
like
don't hate either of those.
I think even was like the sub was plus like 700 earlier in the week. So the line people are definitely putting some money on it. I don't even at 550. I still like it. I think it's very live.
Yeah.
Remember, I was gonna say even deciding the kind of what Lee was saying about like Johnson will probably win the first round. Like I remember like Johnson was beating the shit out of Thiago Moises like a year and a half ago. He like dominated him in the first round and then immediately just got like heel hooked or some shit and like 10 seconds in the second round.
Yeah. It was with 10 seconds left. Yeah. Well, that's
early.
Johnson to a T.
It was in the second round. Like I could see Malarkey doing some similar shit where he gets pieced up a little bit early and then he ends up just getting a submission like the second or third round.
Yeah.
The next fight on this card is Cynthia Calvillo, Chick Diaz versus Nina Nunez, the former Nina Ansaroff. This fight kind of stinks. Calvillo is minus 160, Nina Nunez plus 125. Nunez, I think, is on a 2-fight losing streak. Cynthia is on a 3-fight losing streak, got knocked out in her last 2 fights or finished via, KO, TKO. This fight kind of stinks. I don't know what to think about it.
I want no
It's
part
bad.
of it. I'm probably not betting it at all.
I have no pick. I have no idea who's going to pull out the win. It reminds me of Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Felice Herring.
Yeah.
It's like who's going to break the losing streak? I don't know.
Bad fight. Fight. I don't think either of the
Main card fight. I mean, you should bump one of the prelims up.
It got moved. It got moved to the main card, Bob. Like, what are we doing?
I'd love to sit down.
Put Michael Johnson.
I don't know what's going on there.
Put
David Onama on there. He's gonna get a big
put,
finish.
like,
Just make him a big
literally like any of the other fights.
I don't know what we're doing there. We could move right on to Jared Vandera versus Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman, this poor guy, he's being trotted out as the sacrificial lamb like once a month at this point.
He's making money though now.
He
Bob.
is. You know what? Good
He
for
took
him making money. But this is another fight that I don't think he could win. I don't see any way he
No.
wins this fight.
Unless he sparks him early, I don't think so either.
But like, when was the last time Chase Sherman did that?
No, not really. Yeah, very rare, Bob.
Yeah.
I realized because he fought. He basically was the Alexander Romanov sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
So now he's making like six figures a fight.
Do the matchmakers and Dana just respect the fact that he keeps saying yes?
I think so. I think that's like.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's just tough for these heavyweights to get fights, and he's just like down to fight.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think outside of him knocking out Vandera early, which I think is unlikely because Vandera is definitely much bigger. Yeah, I think Vandera just like I don't even know what to call it. Almost just like fat jitsus him to death. Like just gets him down and just kind of like beats him up. I mean, Sherman's awful on the ground.
Yeah.
Just bad.
He used to have a bit of a feud with Ariel Helwani. Do you guys remember that? Chase Sherman?
No.
Not really.
It was like a half playful feud. I think it was mostly playful, but it was because Ariel refused to believe that Chase Sherman ran his own Twitter account. He was like always tweeting like dumb jokes and memes and stuff. And he was like, "Do you have like a company running your Twitter, dude?" And he was like, "No, it's all me." And he was like, "That's definitely not all you." So it was always like they were going back and forth whether or not he ran his own social media.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I think Vandera is this side here. Like
definitely,
this is parlay piece. This is Vandera round 2, round 3.
Yep.
Vandera sub. Like this is
Yep.
anything other than Vandera round 1. Chase Sherman round 1 is playable. Vandera actually didn't look bad against Arlovsky. He honestly, I think there's a very good chance he could have won that fight on another day. And then he had negative IQ against Oleinik.
He tried to submit the boa constrictor.
The stupidest fucking thing of all time.
I feel like I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and still think about that. He tried to submit like one of the best submission artists in heavyweight history.
It's
just preposterous.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
After he was beating him up.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think this should be like Vandera like minus 300 more than like Vandera like minus 200 at this point. I'm for sure betting Vandera sub plus 650. It's like if you're gonna go down to the ground and Chase Sherman is that bad on the ground, like you have to play that.
I think honestly, even though it's minus 200, I think I'm gonna play Vandera straight.
I agree.
I just think he's going to win. I really would be like surprised. So now that I'm saying it, Sherman will probably spark him, but I'd be pretty surprised if Sherman pulled out a win.
Well, if you like sure thing fights, you're gonna love this next fight: Said Nurmagomedov versus Douglas Silva D'Andrade. Nurmagomedov is minus 335. So Douglas is plus 250. I think it's going to go like the odds say it's going to go. I don't see Nurmagomedov losing this fight.
Yeah, I don't get why. Like, this was at minus 210 last week. Like, it was even, I got it at minus 255 2 days ago. It's like, but I'm almost like, what? Why is this not minus 500, minus 600?
Because
why isn't Nurmagomedov getting better opponents at this point?
I mean, I think the answer to why it's not the first question, why it's not like 500, is because the Andrade, because he beat Morozov.
Yeah.
I think if he loses that fight in Morozov, which he was losing until he wasn't, I think the line's minus like 550. I think they're giving him some respect because Morozov is like, give him credit. It's definitely a very good win. It's really solid win.
If Morozov beat Douglas Silva de Andrade, and then Morozov with his last fight beat Paiva, Morozov's probably fighting in the top 15 like right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
I
Close
think that's
to
why.
it at least.
Said on the hand too, like he just doesn't fight that much. Like he had the minute submission over Cody Stamen.
Yeah.
But before that, he like beat Mark Striegel in a fight night in 2020 in October, and then he lost to Jaime Barcelos back in 2019 in December. So he's fought basically 3 times in 3 years.
Also, is he related or not related to Khabib?
No, not related.
This is the one that's not related. Yeah.
Yeah. And he likes to strike. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got Saeed at minus 215. Yeah, this was my other parlay piece with Onama before Lingo got taken out. So this sucks. I was on top of this line movement. I still think Saeed is a parlay piece. I still think he probably knocks him out. But Douglas Silva de Andrade is like, he's a power puncher. And Saeed does a lot of like spinning backfist shit, like spinning kicks. I think it should have been minus 500 if Douglas Silva de Andrade loses to Morozov, but I don't think that line would have been fair. You know what I mean? I still think he has the puncher's chance always.
Yeah. The co-main event, Caio Baralho, I believe that's how you sort of say it, minus 225 versus Armen Petrosyan, plus 175. How do you guys feel about this one? I was kind of going back and forth this week. I don't know if I hate Petrosyan here.
I like Caio personally.
Yeah.
I think Caio's very good. I'm a believer in Caio. He kind of had that weird last
fight
fight
twice in the Ultimate on Contender Series, right? And got a knockout in his second one. Yeah.
Yeah, his fight in the UFC, his last fight was kind of weird, where he was like dominating the fight, and then he landed some sort of like late in the third round, like basically an illegal strike. It was that, I don't know if you guys remember that weird card where there was like 3 times at like the end of fights there was like weird illegal strikes, but then he kind of just kept letting it go, like he just wasn't like he just kind of was like letting it rock, and like like he should have been DQ'd, but I mean it was in a fight that he had dominated the entire fight. It was like the end of the third round, so it was a little like kind of a weird feeling about it. I like Caio in this fight. I think he should win. I'm not crazy about Petrosyan, to be honest.
I'm not crazy about him either. I just look at the line. I'm like, plus 175, minus 225. That seems a little steep for me, but I don't know.
I think Petrosyan is very good at his kickboxing. He has really good power. Does good. He's a volume fighter still, even though he has that power. I just think that Caio's on the ground. He's a better version of Gregory Rodriguez on the ground, which Petrosyan fought last fight. And I think that if Caio is smart, because he like calls himself the fighting nerd, if he's smart, he just takes him down and he submits him. Like it's that simple. He doesn't stand and bang. He doesn't do nothing. He just goes out there, submits him. But if he doesn't, then I agree, Rob. Then this fight should 100% be closer. I don't think Petrosyan's a plus 175 where you have to be on your feet to start. So,
yeah, I agree. I think that's what the line is. I think just a significant grappling edge.
I think Borralio's sub. Like you have to.
It's just a clear path to victory for both sides, I think.
Yeah.
But I think Borralio's is more like more winnable. Like I think he should have no problem. Like he's a big, strong guy. I don't think he should have a problem getting these takedowns. Like using the clinch against the fence a lot. That's pretty much what he was able to do in his last fight. I think he should be able to do it here.
Fight doesn't go is also, I think, going to be pretty good. I forget what the line is, but I'll look it up real quick. Yeah, plus 175. There's not that many worse dogs. Yeah, fight doesn't go the distance. Minus 200 is a good parlay piece, I think.
I like that. And then the main event, the Battle of the Rafaels, finally going down. Dos Anjos plus 175 versus Fiziev minus 225. How do you guys see this one going down? Another one where I see Fiziev getting a win, but that Dos Anjos plus 175, it's tempting.
I like RDA plus money.
I do too.
I think I just think if the longer this fight goes, the worse it is for Fiziev. I think if this fight gets into the fourth round, it's going to be because RDA is just grinding it out, and he wins the fourth, fifth round.
I could see that completely.
I like taking the shot at the. I mean, RDA is a relatively durable guy. I mean, I like taking the shot at him, just grinding it out, him just kind of making an ugly fight. Obviously, Fiziev is really talented. Could he spark him early? Sure. He's super talented. We saw the spinning heel kick to Brad Riddell was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen him do the Matrix moves. Like he's going to be I think a top 15 guy in the lightweight division for a long time. But I think RDA's got a good shot here. I like RDA's chances. I think plus 175 is more than good price to jump on for him, especially at a 5-rounder. If it was a 3-rounder, I think I'm actually curious if the line would be even longer if it was a 3-rounder, like if he would be like plus like 200 or something. But I think a 5-rounder, it's a good spot.
I feel like this is lined as if it was a 3-round fight.
That's kind of how I feel too. That's why I'm surprised. I'm like surprised at this big.
I think RDA live is going to be like the best way for this fight. I think Fiziev gasses a little bit. Yep. He showed it.
Bobby Green.
Yeah.
Bobby Green beat him up in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
He had nothing left in that 3rd round. Bobby Green took over. He just decisively won the first 2 for Fiziev.
So if that's going to happen, then if people are going to be like, oh my God, Fiziev, his striking, amazing, right? RDA has fought everybody. It's not like this is like a new guy for Fiziev at all. Bless you, Bob.
Thank you.
But RDA live, if he's like 3-1, sorry, if he's like 3-1, I think this is a must play. Then live.
Love it. Agreed. I think huge. If he loses the first round decisively, jump on it. I'm doubling up on it for sure.
If RDA sparks him early, let's just say this hypothetical scenario, RDA goes in and knocks him out in the first round. I think with a good promo, he could get a McGregor fight.
I agree.
Yeah, why not?
They have a history there. They've gone back and forth. The last time McGregor fought, he was on that card. They ran into each other at the Apex, kind of got into it. So I'm just saying, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Fiziev was talking to McGregor on Twitter.
About the axe kick, right?
Yeah.
Saying, like, if you do that, you're going to get hit with an axe kick. And McGregor, did you see the video he attached of the guy getting knocked out with the axe kick, showing what he was talking about? That knockout was vicious. Yeah. That was, like, one of the most vicious knockouts I've ever seen. It was like, holy fuck. I would love to see a video of McGregor doing that to someone in practice.
Did you also see McGregor commented on it was something, a quote from Eugene Barman. I think it was Eugene. It could have been someone else saying that, like, Volkanovski was like clearly the pound for pound one at this point, and McGregor basically just, I forget exactly what he said, but it basically just said like, you're full of shit kind of thing. Like, just like, no way. I was just like,
McGregor.
Also, that was one quick. If anyone has any more comments, I was on the main event. I was gonna say this too. We were talking about like the upcoming lines on some of these big fights. They said that Oliveira, Volkanovski right now, that Volkanovski would only be plus like 110.
Crazy.
Which would be a significantly smaller favorite than even like Gaethje.
Yeah.
Gaethje was plus like 140.
Could you imagine that fight?
I think that'd be awesome.
I think
the fight would be incredible. I think Volk beats him.
That's a
I put on Twitter.
Oliveira's huge though. Oh my god.
Oh, I think
he's so fast though.
He is. No, he is.
And he's powerful too.
But so is Oliveira,
yeah,
though.
Yes, he is.
Oliveira can crack. No one talks about that.
Yeah.
This dude can crack. This dude knocked out Chandler. This dude, like, basically, I mean, the reason he got the sub on Gaethje was because the punch that he landed on Gaethje was harder than all the punches that Gaethje landed on him. Gaethje even, like, when Gaethje saw him I think it was either in the cage or the locker room after, he was like, you hit hard as fuck. That was the first thing he said to him, was like, you hit way harder than I thought. Like, Oliveira can crack. People, like, obviously his grappling, his jiu-jitsu game is off the charts. But that dude can fucking hit.
I think Volk is going to get big for that fight, though.
Oh, dude.
He's going to bring back some of that rugby diet.
I'd be curious to see him, like, how he looks at 155, because he looks like a monster at 145.
Yeah.
Volk versus Gaethje or like, I agree he probably deserves to get like Charles, like if he was going to move up to like 55. But any of like the Chandler Gaethje, either one of those two.
Chandler, like Volk I want to see that fight, Volk and Chandler.
Oh my god, that would be a banger.
I think Volk would chin him.
I think so too.
And I love Chandler. Yeah. I just think
Chandler's getting old.
There's very few people in the world right now that I feel like I would pick over Volk, like if there's any.
For sure. The only thing with I love the Lee matchmaking, like those are like dream fights. I just don't think he moves up for a non-title shot. Like I think it's only for the belt.
Agreed.
It's just only for the belt. As much,
but he says if he goes up and wins the belt, he wants to be active. He wants to defend both belts at the same time and everything.
We should talk about this too. That real quick, that Chandler and Poirier got into it in the crowd, and I feel like
they sort of did. It seems like they were yelling at each other.
I feel like that was a promo for a fight.
Yeah,
it could have been.
They have tension already.
And
they have
Gilbert
like
Burns
real
posted it,
tension.
like a teammate posted it,
They have real tension where Poirier didn't want to fight Chandler when Chandler first came over in Bellator, and he basically said like you don't deserve it kind of thing. And then Chandler after the big win over Ferguson kind of threw some shade at Poirier after his loss to Oliveira.
Yeah.
It was pretty much like now his stardom's like above Poirier, so he's like I don't know if you deserve like to fight me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I like basically saying like I don't know if you bring in enough eyeballs.
That's crazy.
I don't think it's true. Like I think the world.
He's just trying to get under his skin.
Of course. I would.
Poirier is a bigger draw, right?
Of course.
I think it's close. I think Poirier.
I don't think it's particularly close. The dude beat McGregor decisely twice in a row.
Sure.
You know.
I guess it's because
Chandler's got steam.
Yeah.
Chandler's got steam right now.
Yeah, we've seen Chandler a lot more than Poirier.
Exactly. Like he's like. I mean, I think. No, I'll probably take it back. That there's Poirier definitely is a bigger draw, but I think Chandler's closer than maybe people think. I mean, the Gaethje fight put it like really like people loved him after that.
Yeah.
Obviously, this fucking
the
Tony knockout is like one of the better knockouts you'll ever see. That was insane, and he's also cut an amazing promo.
Always,
I think he's put himself like firmly in a conversation to fight McGregor whenever McGregor does come back.
I think, yeah, but Volk Oliveira, I think Oliveira wins like easily. I would max bet Oliveira. Like I would max bet Charles and Charles by submission, like right now.
Wow.
I think.
Well, hopefully that gets booked. There's a good show, boys. We got to talk about a parlay though.
Easily beat Volk.
Yes. I think
he is so good. God, my brain's literally playing ping pong with that fight.
I think Charles would easily beat Volk, and then he could like legitimately move up to 70 and have a very, very good fight at 70 with Usman.
Wow. I don't totally disagree with you, but I hadn't even like considered that.
Yeah,
that'd be wild. That would be really wild.
Like, would he claim to be like the first like 3-belt champ?
Wow, if he just beat Volkanovski and then fought Usman like next.
Yeah. Obviously, like
wow.
He wasn't at 45.
You can't claim the 145 belt if you can't make weight at 145.
I know, but that'd be funny to claim though.
You are right. That would be for you.
Wow.
Let's talk about a parlay for this card and address last week's parlay as well.
Oh.
What's going on with last week's parlay? I feel like Jack Mack, you're better suited to explain what's going on there.
Let me read.
Yeah, just read what Westy said. I'm gonna choose to probably not comment on a lot of
Fair.
We're gonna run a backfist free bet, a risk-free bet, $25 risk-free bet for anybody who took the last one for this upcoming weekend, given that it's a pretty good card. I didn't know Westy knew anything about UFC, but
Westy.
For those who don't know, Westy's
Nurmagomedov.
yeah, he's a big Saeed guy. Yeah, he's
yeah.
really looking forward to see Ronnie Lawrence's performance. But and then we submitted because we had to put it in early. We submitted a parlay with Malarkey, Lawrence, Nurmagomedov, and Vandera.
Do we know what the odds on that are yet or no?
Well, when I submitted it, that's plus 382, so we'll probably get over 4-1. And
if you bet last week, $25 risk free on this one, correct?
Yes, and then it will also be available if you didn't take it last week. You can still bet this with us as well.
Of course, yeah.
So that's Ronnie Lawrence -1 when this was submitted. So I submitted this yesterday. Lines have probably changed, but Ronnie Lawrence -143. We talked it over in the group chat. Jamie Malarkey -250. Saeed Nurmagomedov -286. Jared Vandera -200. That's a 4-leg parlay. That's up to plus 382. And it will probably get boosted over that 4-1 mark, hopefully. So
that'd be nice.
And the issue with the parlays, when they're boosted and whatnot, there's a little bit different rules. It's tough. We don't run the sports book, It's Barstool Sportsbook, but it's ran by Penn National, and they make their own rules. And I think we all disagreed with it, but we're not the ones making the rules or anything, nor do we want to.
For those listening who took the parlay, I want you to know I fought for you. I made texts, I made calls to
It's a fact.
multiple people that are much higher up than me. I did what I could. I wasn't. I don't love the what was given to us, but it is what it is.
Better than nothing.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So there you go. If you bet it $25 risk-free on this parlay, if you didn't bet it last week, get in on this parlay, and it'll be up on the Barstool Sportsbook soon. We'll tweet it from the Spinnin Backfist account, put it up on all socials so you guys know when it goes up. And thanks for tuning in. I thought this was a good show, a good vacation show, a good little check-in before next week we get kind of back into it with the UFC Long Island prep.
I'm excited. Yeah. We're gonna be in it. I've been literally waiting for the Long Island card since.
Oh, and that's secured. I don't know if I told Lee and Jack. We're in for that. We're
hell yeah!
Uncle Dana hooked it up.
I thought I was gonna have to buy one real quick.
No. I think we got 4 tickets.
Awesome,
ecstatic, dude. That card is awesome.
So shout out UFC hooking it up. Yeah, they said they were gonna hook it up, and they were true to their word.
11 a.m. Eastern time prelims, boys.
I know. You know what's so funny is I haven't seen my brother in like a year, and he's coming to New York like that weekend to like play drums. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's the same night. Like I'm not going to be able to see you. And then I realized it's an early card. It's going to be over at like 5 p.m. So yeah, best of both worlds. Can't wait.
Also, before shout out Tim Hitchens letting us remind everybody in the chat, like the video, subscribe,
comment afterwards. That helps us.
Comment after and share it with your friends.
But thanks for everyone tuning in. I saw a bunch of people in the chat today. A bunch of people tuning in, like concurrent. Like, cool to see people like being part of the show in the chat and everything.
Comment after the episode's over. Comment what picks you like.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome.
What are your picks?
Tell us what you like. Tell us what you like on this card.
Next week we'll like go through and be like, I'll take out the ones like we'll have a commentator of the week, kind of like best bets or something.
That would be good. All right. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. We will see you next week, probably on Tuesday.